In this question, we are asked to build an excludes function. This function takes two arguments, an items and excludes argument, and it'll finally return an exclusion list of the same items we provided, but it will exclude the properties and values provided in the excludes constant variable. So let's build this out. So we'll say function exclude items, and first will be items, and then the second argument will be excludes. Now, we want to build this out as optimal as possible. We want to go ahead and think about a strategy we can take here. So first, if we don't think of optimization, I guess one approach we can do is we can iterate through the excludes individually, figure out the K and the V, which represents the key values, and then cross-reference that against items through a filter. And it might work, but it's messy, it's not very performant. So let's think about a more performant approach. One thing I can think of is we can update the mapping of the excludes to not be a list, but rather an object or a hash map. The key itself will be the K value here, so the color is the key, and then the value will just be the V value, so in this case red or phone would be the value. So let's build that out. So let's call it function build exclusion map, and this we're going to eventually return a map, so let's define that. So const map equals to an empty object, and then we'll return map. And here we'll say excludes for each item, and we want to first check if this particular map even includes the item K value. So we'll say map, as long as map is not includes the item dot K, again K represents the key, then what we'll say is as long as this does not exist within the map, we'll give the map an empty value. So we'll say map item K equals to an empty array. And then finally, because now it's always going to be available, we'll just push item.v, and let's run this and see what happens. So let's say const exclusion map equals to this guy. And for now, we'll just do a console.log exclusion map, and let's run our exclude items function as well. So when I run this, you'll see that now our keys is the K values in the excludes array, and the values for each key is the V value. Now this is all fine and dandy. One improvement we can do here is, what if I have another exclude object here that is identical to the first? So K will be color, V is red. So if I run this, you notice we have a duplicate entry of red inside our colors. So we can improve this slightly. We'll say if, let's see, so we want to check if map item K includes item V. So if the value is part of the items K already, then we just return false. So we want to skip that altogether. So now if I run this, we should only expect to see only one red in there for the color key. Cool, that's working as expected. Now let's move on to the second part. This is where we want to filter out the ones provided here. So in this case, let's sort of take a look at our input. First exclude, we want to exclude is color red. So this one will be excluded because color red is defined here. The second we want to exclude is the type phone. So looks like the second row has a type phone. So technically when we finally successfully run this, we would expect to only see the last row return. So let's build this out. So here we're going to return items.filter because we're going to filter on the items. And let's call this row here. Now each of these rows are an object, so we're going to have to iterate through the object. So we'll say for const key in row. Now that we have the key value in each row, we want to also grab the value itself. So we'll say row key which is the value of the row. Now here what we want to do is we want to check if the exclusion map that we've just created, this guy here, if there is a valid key that's provided within the items row between these guys. So if there's a valid key like color, and that exists as a key inside of our own map with a value, so we'll say if that exists, and now we have to check for the value too. So we'll say if exclusions map key dot includes, and we just pass the value here, this guy. If this is valid, then we want to return false. Otherwise, outside of a for loop, we can just return true. And that's pretty much it. This should help us achieve our expected output. So let's try running this. Cool. So we only get one result returned, which is blue book. So let's just make sure and sanity check our tests. Let's update the color to silver. This way we're know for a fact we're going to be excluding the second row. So if I run this, we should expect to see 2 items returned, first and third. Yes, and that's what we get. One last check. Let's make sure the third one is also could get filtered out. So we'll say type is color. So we already have that, but color would be blue. So in this case, I think only the first line would be returned. So run this. Okay, we have an issue. So color blue. This is should have been excluded, but then it's not being excluded. It should be color blue. I left book as is. That's my fault. So value should be blue, not book. Cool. That's working as expected. Cool. So I passed all our test cases, and yeah, this is how to build it most optimal. And this is a linear solution, so it is as optimal as it gets. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks.